Most people think animals adopt orphans because they feel sorry for them. That is almost never where it starts. In the wild, caring for the wrong baby can waste energy, expose you to predators, and lower the chances that your own offspring survive. Evolution should punish it. And yet, across species, animals keep doing it. The real question is not why adoption happens, it is why the body sometimes refuses to stop caring. Start with the part that makes no sense. A baby animal is not neutral. It is loud. It is helpless. It smells different. It moves badly. In the wild, those are not cute traits. They are liabilities. A crying infant can attract predators. A weak infant can consume milk, warmth, protection, and attention that could have gone to an animal's own young. From the outside, adoption looks generous. From inside the logic of survival, it looks like a mismatch. And in many cases, that may be exactly what it is. Most mammal babies are born with signals designed to break through an adult's nervous system. Large eyes, high-pitched calls, soft bodies, clinging movements. Distress sounds that are difficult for a parent to ignore. Those signals are not emotional decoration, they're survival tools. A baby that fails to trigger care dies, so evolution made the signal strong. The problem is that the signal does not always stay inside the boundary it was meant for. It can spill over, it can hit the wrong animal. It can activate a caregiving system in an adult that has no genetic reason to respond. The baby is not asking for help in a language the adult understands. It is pressing a button. And sometimes the button works. In biology, this is called alloparenting, care given to young that are not your own. In some species, it makes sense. Wolves, elephants, meerkats, dolphins, and many primates live in social groups where helping raise another baby can still benefit the group. A sister's offspring carries some of your genes. A group member's survival can strengthen the whole family. But adoption becomes stranger when the baby is unrelated. Stranger still when it belongs to another species. Because then the math begins to collapse. In 2004, researchers studying capuchin monkeys in Brazil documented something that should not have lasted as long as it did. A group of capuchins adopted a baby marmoset, not another capuchin, a completely different primate. Smaller, weaker, and unable to move through the world the way they did. The baby marmoset clung to the capuchins. The capuchins carried it. They tolerated it. They allowed it to move with the group. For weeks, then months, the marmoset survived inside a society it was not built for. There was no clear genetic reward, no obvious survival advantage. The marmoset would not grow up to strengthen the capuchin bloodline. And yet the care continued. The researchers were careful. They did not call it love. They did not call it kindness. Science avoids those words because they describe an inner experience. And the inner experience of an animal is the hardest thing to measure. What they could describe was behavior. Carrying, protection, tolerance, repeated care. And sometimes, behavior is all the data can reach. But the body has its own explanation. In mammals, caregiving is partly controlled by hormones like oxytocin and prolactin. These chemicals help bind parents to offspring. They reduce aggression. They increase attention toward infant cues. They make the sound, smell, and touch of a baby harder to ignore. This is useful when the baby is yours. It becomes dangerous when the system misfires. A female who has recently given birth, recently lost an infant, or is surrounded by young animals may be especially sensitive to those signals. Her body is already primed for care. Then a strange baby cries, clings, or reaches. The brain does not always stop to check ownership. It responds to the signal. This is why some adoptions happen after loss. An animal loses its own offspring, but the hormonal state does not immediately disappear. The body remains prepared to nurse, groom, guard, and respond. If another infant appears during that window, it can slip into a system built for someone else. The care may begin as displacement, a place for a drive that has nowhere else to go. But here is where it becomes harder. Because in some cases, the adoption does not end when the first hormonal wave should fade. The adult keeps carrying the infant, keeps defending it, keeps changing its behavior around it, keeps treating the stranger as if the original mistake has become a relationship. This is the part biology can describe, but not fully close. One famous example came from Kenya, where a lioness was seen adopting a baby oryx. A lioness, a predator whose normal relationship to an oryx calf is not protection, but death. And yet she guarded it. She stayed near it. She kept other predators away. She did not eat it. To a human watching, the story almost forces itself into a simple shape. A predator spared a baby. A wild animal showed mercy. But nature is almost never that clean. The calf still needed milk the lioness could not provide. Protection alone was not enough. The adoption was powerful from the outside, but biologically unstable from the start. And that matters, because not every adoption saves the baby. Some are doomed by the very mismatch that makes them remarkable. A predator can guard prey but not feed it correctly. A bird can respond to a cuckoo chick while slowly starving its own young. A monkey can carry a dead infant for days because the body has not released the bond. Care is not always wisdom. Sometimes care is a trap. Cuckoos exploit this better than almost any animal. A female cuckoo lays her egg in another bird's nest. When the chick hatches, it often pushes the host's real eggs out. Then it opens its mouth and begs. The host bird feeds it, even when the chick grows larger than the adult feeding it. Even when the mismatch is obvious to us. Even when the bird is pouring food into the body of a parasite that destroyed its actual offspring. The signal is too strong. The open mouth, the begging call, the movement inside the nest. The host does not see an enemy. It sees a demand it was built to answer. This is adoption in its darkest form. Not compassion, but hijacking. A caregiving system being used against the animal that owns it. And yet not all adoption fits that pattern. Some cases look less like manipulation and more like social flexibility. Elephants have been observed caring for calves that lost their mothers. Older females guide them, protect them, and help them move with the herd. In elephant society, this makes more sense than it does in solitary animals. The herd itself is the survival unit. A calf is not just one mother's problem, it is part of the group's future. But even there, the behavior carries cost. An orphan slows the herd, it needs protection, it needs guidance. Every minute spent helping the weakest member is a minute the group is exposed, and still elephants do it. They do not just react once, they maintain care over time. That is the difference between a reflex and something deeper. A reflex fires and fades. A bond changes what an animal keeps doing after the first trigger is gone. This is why animal adoption sits in such an uncomfortable place. If you call it love too quickly, you project a human story onto a non-human mind. But if you call it only instinct, you may flatten something visibly more complex than a single automatic response. The honest answer is not satisfying. Some adoption is kin selection, some adoption is hormonal spillover, some adoption is manipulation, and some cases remain harder to classify. A baby appears where it should not survive. An adult approaches when it should ignore it. The infant is carried, warmed, guarded, sometimes fed. The behavior continues past the first moment, past the first mistake, past the point where the simplest explanation feels complete. What does the animal understand? We do not know. We know the signals. We know the hormones. We know the evolutionary costs. We know that infant features can activate caregiving systems across boundaries they were never meant to cross. But we do not know what it feels like from the inside, what it is to be the capuchin carrying a marmoset through the trees, what it is to be the elephant standing beside a calf whose mother will not return, what it is to be the lioness guarding an animal her species was built to hunt. Maybe the animal is not thinking anything close to what we imagine. Maybe the body begins the decision before the mind ever arrives. But care, even when it starts as a mistake, can still become real in its consequences. The orphan is warmer. The predator is held back. The baby survives one more hour because another animal's nervous system answered a signal that was never meant for it. Science can explain why the signal works. It can explain why the body responds. What it cannot fully explain is why some animals keep choosing the baby after the mistake should have ended. And maybe that is why these stories stay with us. Not because they prove animals are secretly human, but because they remind us that care may be older than understanding, older than morality, older than choice. A signal sent from one vulnerable body to another. And sometimes, somehow, answered